Hello everybody, my name is Conor Okayfabe, and welcome guys back to OneWrestling.com, of course, One Wrestling Video's YouTube channel, as I'm here, your official SmackDown video correspondent for One Wrestling and OneWrestling.com, as we're going to cover everything about WrestleMania 33, the showcase, the Immortals, the grandest stage of them all, and of course, this year, the Ultimate Thrill Ride. Thank you guys again for coming back here to the YouTube channel, of course, right here also on OneWrestling.com. We'd love hearing from you guys, and of course, we're going to break down everything that happened at WrestleMania 33. My apologies, I'm not usually my energetic, peppy self this evening. Unfortunately, I'm filming this at a very late time. WrestleMania 33 went on over 7 hours long. Went from 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time all the way up to midnight. So needless to say, it was a long show. We had a lot of things to cover, but don't forget, guys, we'd love to hear your thoughts. We'd love to hear your comments. We'd love to hear your feedback from this year's WrestleMania, of course, down that comment section. And also make sure you hit us up on the various social media as well, too, including Twitter. All the links for myself and the entire OneWrestling.com family. All the links are provided for you down in the description box below of this video. Make sure you guys, if you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. And, of course, subscribe for more awesome content right here at One Wrestling and OneWrestling.com. Okay, so the pre-show actually had 3 matches altogether, one from Raw, one from SmackDown, and of course the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. The first matchup saw Neville defeating Austin Aries, retaining his Cruiserweight Championship in a fantastic one-on-one matchup that really, to me, was the height and the epitome of the Cruiserweight division. A lot of insane daredevil tactics and feats between these two men. Really, Austin Aries looked like it was probably the best performance I've seen him in quite some time, ever since, of course, coming back from his orbital socket injury that was very devastating at the hands of Shinsuke Nakamura a few months ago. Neville able to retain via the Red Arrow after raking the eye of Austin Aries when he was putting Neville in the last Chancery submission move. It was just great, entertaining stuff, great to kick off the show, and great way to kick off the kickoff. That makes sense. Great way to kick off the kickoff show for WrestleMania. Great high-flying, insane action from the Cruiserweight division. Again, Neville retaining successfully against Austin Aries, or a double. Mojo Rawley was able to outlast 32 other men in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Definitely a lot of surprises and shocking moments. Yours truly thought that Braun Strowman was going to be the one who was ultimately going to walk out of WrestleMania as the winner of the Battle Royal, but it was not meant to be this year. Big Show and Braun Strowman were eliminated extremely early on the Battle Royal, which meant that, well, I kind of thought maybe yours truly thought maybe Sami Zayn was ultimately going to be the winner at that point, but then Sami Zayn was also eliminated as well, too. We actually came down to 3 participants, as it came down to Jinder Mahal, Mojo Rawley, and Killian Dane, of course, formerly known as Big Damo on the indie circuit. Killian Dane, part of that group Sanity in NXT right now, led by Eric Young, who was entered into this Battle Royal earlier this week. Essentially, it was down to the 3 men where Jinder Mahal tossed Mojo Rawley outside the ring through the middle ropes, not eliminating him in the Battle Royal, but then also taunting his friend Rob Gronkowski of the New England Patriots, who even spat water at him, which you never do that to a member of the New England Patriots. You just don't do that sort of thing. You just don't. When will these people ever learn? Anyway, Gronkowski actually gets into the ring. He actually jumps the guardrail, believe it or not, and tackles Jinder Mahal just absolutely ferociously, allowing Mojo to come back in, allowing to eliminate both Jinder and Killian Dane to win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, the 4th ever winner of the Battle Royal. To say I was surprised is an understatement. I definitely would have put money, like I said, on either Braun Strowman or Sami Zayn, although with Mojo and Gronkowski and kind of hit their relationship together and the way this has been built up, it does make sense for Mojo to win, and actually I think this will be a great way to possibly catalyst a launch for Mojo in a singles career, in singles competition, but also for some weird reason I do think that this might be a way for, this might be a great use for when we might see maybe an eventual feud between Mojo Rawley and his Hype Bro tag team partner Zack Ryder once he returns from injury. I have a feeling there's going to be some tension amongst the Hype Bros. Woo woo woo. You know it. We move on to the 3rd kickoff match. This one was Dean Ambrose defending his Intercontinental Championship against Baron Corbin. A little surprised that the Intercontinental Championship was relegated to the kickoff show. Originally, it looked like the SmackDown Women's Championship was going to be the one to be on that show, but it looks like that we did a little switcheroo. A very stiff and hard-hitting match between these two individuals, and particularly a lot of more so from Dean than Baron, I thought, and definitely a improved performance from Dean Ambrose compared to last year's WrestleMania. Just a very stiff contest, and the only critique I really have was the fact that I felt like it deserved a little bit more time, clocking in at 10 minutes and 5 seconds. Not a bad match whatsoever, but just felt like it needed a little more oomph and a little more, I don't know, just a little more intensity revved up, especially after the huge build that we saw between Dean and Baron leading into this. I mean, with all sorts of craziness, the forklift, choking Dean out. I mean, these two guys have been brawling everywhere and doing almost anything, and just felt like it wasn't really truly delivered in this matchup. But not to say that we won't maybe see this down the road in the future, which I would absolutely be loving to see Dean versus Baron Corbin, more so in the future. Of course, SmackDown guys, come on now. Now we go to the actual main show itself. WrestleMania kicked off with AJ Styles against Shane McMahon in singles competition. Now, interestingly enough, I thought that this matchup was going to be, far exceeded my expectations, first and foremost. This matchup was so much better than what I thought it was going to be. Especially considering it was a traditional match. Shane McMahon has been typically featured predominantly in specialty matches like street fights, no holds barred, Hell in a Cell, especially gimmick stipulations that allowed him and allowed the creative freedom to let him do, all the crazy stuff that we know Shane McMahon for, that we know him and love him for. So having him in a traditional match, I thought was going to kind of stifle him a little bit in some regards, but at the same time, what he was able to pull off in this matchup was very impressive, both from a technical standpoint as far as being able to mat wrestle inside the confines of a traditional wrestling match, but also improvise once of that poor Mike Chioda. Poor Mike Chioda unfortunately got knocked down, which allowed Shane McMahon to bring some fun little goodies into this matchup, including hitting a coast-to-coast drop kick from one end to the other end of the ring. Of course, his signature drop, coast to coast. But AJ Styles was ultimately able to pick up the win over the SmackDown commissioner with a beautiful, phenomenal forearm. All happy. I actually, like I said, was very impressed with this match. I thought it was much, 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 much better than I thought it was going to be going into this. So kudos, props, and praise to both men, especially AJ, who made this whole match look simply phenomenal. Next up, we had Kevin Owens against Chris Jericho for the United States Championship. I've said this over on my main YouTube channel. It's interesting that you have two Canadians fighting for the United States Championship at WrestleMania. Just a fun little factoid on that one, my own little personal enjoyment. Owens versus Jericho, I thought was a good matchup, but again, much like the Baron Corbin Dean Ambrose one, I feel like they still left a lot to be desired in this particular matchup. I felt that the two would put on, the two are excellent high caliber performers of their type. I just feel like there could have been just maybe a little bit more we could have gotten out of this. There were a couple of fun moments for me in terms of just watching the back and forth, Kevin yelling at Chris. My particular favorite was, of course, Kevin Owens breaking up a pinfall attempt by putting just simply the tip of his finger right on the edge of the rope, allowing the referee to stop. I just thought that was extremely clever. Kevin Owens ultimately being able to defeat Chris Jericho after using the powerbomb him on the apron outside, rolling him in and pinning him to become your new WWE United States Champion. Another good matchup. Again, just much like the Baron Corbin Dean Ambrose one, just felt there was a little bit more we could have gotten out of that particular matchup. Next up, we have the Fatal 4-Way for the Raw Women's Championship. Fatal 4-Way elimination match for the Raw Women's Championship. We had Bayley, Charlotte Flair, Nia Jax, and Sasha Banks. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Personally, in my opinion, this matchup, I felt like it had a lot to be desired in this one. The match felt a little rushed, but more importantly, I feel like there might have been some sort of miscommunication in this one. I feel like that this matchup didn't go the way it was supposed to go. I had this general feeling that this was not necessarily the way the matchup was intended to be portrayed and laid out. Essentially, Nia Jax getting eliminated first after all three women teaming up against her, even doing this beautiful move where Charlotte boots Nia Jax as Bayley and Sasha throw her back and almost a back body drop. They eliminate her first by all three of them pinning on top of each other. Charlotte then pinning Sasha Banks, which I think honestly is the moment that was not meant to be, as we were down to Bayley and Charlotte, with Bayley hitting a Macho Man memorial elbow drop off the top rope to pin Charlotte to retain the Raw Women's Championship. Not a bad matchup, but considering the high caliber of matches that we've seen between Charlotte and Bayley individually, Charlotte and Sasha individually, Sasha and Bayley individually, I thought that we were going to get a lot more craziness. I thought we were going to get a lot more near falls. I thought we were going to get more of the double team efforts than we did. The beginning portion I loved with them teaming up with Nia. I thought that obviously made the best sense in the world, but just kind of everything after that just made me scratch my head as far as what was going on. It just felt like it was a little rushed, and in some regards didn't feel like this is the way things were supposed to be executed. Again, Bayley getting the win and retaining over all three women 12 minutes and 8 seconds in. Now comes possibly the biggest pop of the entire evening, the triple threat tag team title match, the triple threat ladder tag team title match for the Raw tag team titles. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson defending against Enzo and Cass and Cesaro and Sheamus. Before the matchup officially begins, New Day, your host, New Day, sorry, again, I apologize, it's really freaking late, come out and announce that there is actually one more team to be added to this, making it a fatal four-way, and it's the return of the Hardys. Yes, Matt and Jeff Hardy make their return as soon as their music hits. Again, in my opinion, the biggest pop of the entire evening, especially this matchup was just absolutely a car crash. And what do I mean by car crash? I mean it was a human demolition derby in the finest regards. Basically any type of ladder match that involves the Hardys, just bodies flying, just absolute insanity. One of the crazier moments I remember is two ladders being sprawled out between the ring apron and the barricade near ringside, with Cesaro and Sheamus being laid out on top of them, and Jeff Hardy, instead of going for the championships, puts out a huge ladder and does a swanton through one ladder and trying to hit the other. Just absolute, putting his own body in line, just insane, exactly what we loved and remembered the Hardys for the most. Meanwhile, Matt was able to climb up as soon as Jeff did that, grabbing the belts, capturing the Raw Tag Team titles. So not only do the Hardys return to WWE, they return at WrestleMania, but they return at WrestleMania and they walk out as Raw Tag Team Champions. Only at WrestleMania can you see crazy, insane moments like this. Speaking of crazy, insane moments, next up we had John Cena and Nikki Bella against The Miz and Maurice. Now, this matchup, honestly, was nothing, was not a huge spectacle. It was not anything grandiose. It was not anything over the top like the last two matches I just mentioned, but more was pretty much a straightforward matchup with John Cena and Miz kind of battling out with the women, getting their chances in very seldom and few often, as Maurice attempted to avoid confrontation with Nikki Bella as much as possible. So the psychology was absolutely fantastic. The interesting note was Miz was actually getting a huge reaction from the crowd of this one, so I thought it was very interesting that Miz was getting actual fans cheering him, and he was actually "Come on, folks," and actually got a very decent reaction from everybody in the crowd. So I thought that was very intriguing, to say the least. Ultimately, John Cena and Nikki Bella defeating Miz and Maurice after hitting an AA and Rack Attack 2.0, respectively, at the same time, and going for a double pinfall, much like we've seen them doing on SmackDown Live recently. But of course, that's not necessarily the big story here. And no, it's not Al Roker calling himself Chocolate Thunder. I'm talking about John Cena ultimately proposing to Nikki Bella in the middle of the ring, and of course Nikki saying yes. The two newlyweds, or the two new happy couple, is engaged to be married, and it's going to be interesting to see how this exactly pulls off. Of course, a lot of people saying this gives them reminiscence of Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth, which I can't argue with them, and that's exactly how I feel. Perhaps the wedding might take place at SummerSlam, or even maybe next year's WrestleMania in New Orleans. Who knows? It's party time. I can't wait. I just want a wedding invite. That's all I'm asking. Just please give me just one reception. Can I even? We'll talk about that. Anywho, next was the non-sanctioned match between Triple H and Seth Rollins. This matchup was your weapons match. This matchup had almost every weapon except the kitchen sink, although I think I do remember seeing the kitchen sink at some point in this matchup, but it was exactly just that. It was great storytelling from both men. Triple H looking great in his entrance with his giant motorcycle coming out. Great use of weapons. You had steel chairs. You had, of course, you can't have a Triple H match with weapons without a sledgehammer. And even Stephanie McMahon taking a bump from the ring apron after Triple H accidentally knocks her off the apron, and she goes crashing through a table. Again, a massive pop from the crowd of that one. A lot of crazy counters and near pedigrees. It was very interesting to see two men who use the pedigree simultaneously, trying to counter each other and doing both of them. It was absolutely crazy insane, but it was a really fun treat. Ultimately, Seth Rollins does pin and defeat Triple H. No run-ins from anybody, no outside interference. Stephanie did trip up Seth once on the turnbuckle, but aside from that, you really had basically a clean win for Seth Rollins over Triple H at WrestleMania. That's a huge, huge deal, but I have a feeling that Triple H is going to say next week, or excuse me, tomorrow night on Raw, that even though that's the case, it's a non-sanctioned match, so technically doesn't really count as a victory. So sorry, Seth, but regardless, a fun, entertaining match to watch. It with a lot of intense spots with just creative uses of weapons. It was very fun, and enjoyable for me anyway, personally. Next up, we get towards the Final Four, all huge major matchups here. We're heading into the Final Four. For the evening, we had Randy Orton against Bray Wyatt for the WWE Championship. Talk about a bizarro matchup. These two, much like the Corbin-Dean Ambrose match for the IC title, very hard-hitting, very stiff action between both men. What was very interesting, and the part that really stood out to me the most, was, of course, the fact that during points of the match where Bray Wyatt was taunting Randy Orton in the ring, there were images on the apron that were projected like maggots or like creepy crawlies. It was very, very weird and bizarre, but also fit exactly what was going on. Ultimately, Randy Orton was able to topple Bray Wyatt and hitting the RKO for, I believe, a second or third time. I can't remember which. I believe it was a second time to pin Bray Wyatt, allowing himself to become a record-breaking, I apologize, I hope I have the number right, 12-time WWE champion. I believe I could be wrong on that number. Hopefully you fans can let me know down in the comment section and correct me if that's the case. Again, very similar to Dean Ambrose Baron Corbin match. Solid matchup, great hard-hitting action, but just wished for a little more. I honestly thought Bray Wyatt was going to get the victory in this one here because it's not really a revenge story that I think they're telling, but more, I just want to see, and also for selfish reasons, I was hoping to see Bray Wyatt remain champion heading past WrestleMania, but I don't think the rivalry between these two is far from over yet, so we'll see how things go, especially this Tuesday on SmackDown. The Universal Championship, Brock Lesnar against Bill Goldberg. This, in my opinion, was the best match between Lesnar and Goldberg we've seen in the entire inception of this rivalry, lasting 4 minutes and 45 seconds, which is probably the longest compared to maybe the WrestleMania 20 match. This matchup was just like, you couldn't miss anything. You could not blink. You couldn't go away. It was just action after action after action after action. Lesnar coming right in with suplexes, then Goldberg spearing him and even into the barricade. Goldberg coming back in, spear, another jackhammer, but Lesnar kicks out. Goldberg goes for another set of spears, but ends up missing Brock Lesnar after he leapfrogs over him. Goldberg hitting the turnbuckle, a couple more suplexes, finally into the F5, allowing Brock Lesnar for the first time in his career, becoming the new WWE Universal Champion, and a crowd going absolutely insane for the people here for Brock Lesnar. Again, short, sweet, to the point, one of those like just bam, 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 bam matches. You could not, you couldn't go away. You had to sit and watch it, but I loved it. I thought this was one of their better encounters between all the ones in their past, so definitely something to check out for sure. Six-pack challenge for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, Carmella, Mickie James, Natalya, and Naomi. This one was one of the shorter matches. I think it was actually the second shortest matchup of the evening, other than the Brock Lesnar Bill Goldberg match. It was 6-pack challenge, so that means first pinfall, first submission would gain you the SmackDown Women's Championship. Naomi was able to actually submit Alexa Bliss to win the SmackDown Women's Championship. It was a fun matchup where every woman got a chance to truly shine. Even Becky Lynch was able to power slam James Ellsworth, which of course I popped for. Come on now, it's James Ellsworth getting his butt kicked by Becky Lynch. How could you not? It was just a fun match where every woman got her chance to shine in the matchup, but ultimately it was Naomi to feel the glow and become a 2-time SmackDown Women's Champion. And I can't wait to see how this rivalry is going to keep going with her and Alexa Bliss going into, I believe it's Extreme Rules, is the next SmackDown pay-per-view. So congratulations to Naomi. She was tearing up Orlando, Florida crowd. It was awesome. But again, short, sweet, and to the point like a couple matches in the past. Now, of course, comes the bittersweet one for me to talk about, which is, of course, Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker. For those of you who don't know, I am a massive fan of The Undertaker. Undertaker has always been and probably will always be my favorite wrestler of all time. And it seems as if the dead man might be truly done in WWE. Roman Reigns able to defeat Undertaker almost in a, needless to say, very decisive victory. Undertaker having a little bit of dominance in the beginning of this matchup, but more or less 2/3 of this towards the end was all Roman Reigns. Match becoming no holds barred at the last moment, where Roman just kept on utilizing steel chair shots, constant spears, and constant Superman punches to utilize his strength to ultimately overpower the dead man after a second set of Superman punches and spears. That would ultimately lead to the downfall of the dead man as he pinned Undertaker for the second time in WrestleMania history, thus making Undertaker's record 21-2. As Roman Reigns left with pyro and fireworks going off in the background, Undertaker would take his time, ultimately taking his hat, gloves, and jacket, leaving them in the ring and quietly riding off into the night, presumably never to be seen again. I can assume just from the gravity and the silence and the importance and the time that was taken for Undertaker to be given that time after his match with Roman Reigns. While nothing has been officially confirmed, I can suffice enough to say that this most likely is the last time we will see the dead man in WWE, or at least WrestleMania, which I'm getting actually kind of teared up just like talking about it to you guys. Well, again, nothing 100% confirmed. We'll have to learn more tomorrow night on Monday Night Raw, but the show closing with Undertaker with his hand held high, the lights going out, and the gongs singing one last time, the infamous Undertaker gongs, as we close out WrestleMania 33. Crazy show to say the least. Again, new champions, and a quick recap of the results. Neville retaining his Cruiserweight Championship against Austin Aries. Mojo Rawley winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Dean Ambrose retaining against Baron Corbin for the Intercontinental title. AJ Styles defeating Shane McMahon. Kevin Owens defeating Chris Jericho to become the new U.S. champion. Bayley retaining the Women's Champion for Raw against Charlotte Flair, Nia Jax, and Sasha Banks. The Hardy Boys defeating Gallows and Anderson, Cesaro, and Sheamus, and cast in a 4-way ladder match for the tag team titles. Cena and Nikki Bella against the Miz and Maurice. Cena and Nikki Bella defeating Miz and Maurice. Seth Rollins defeating Triple H in the non-sanctioned match. Randy Orton defeating Bray Wyatt to become the new WWE champion. Brock Lesnar defeating Goldberg to become the new Universal champion. Naomi defeating Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, Carmella, Mickie James, and Natalya to become the new SmackDown Women's champion. And of course, Roman Reigns defeating The Undertaker to close the show. Thank you guys again for watching. I appreciate the love and support here. Again, let us know your thoughts of WrestleMania 33 down in that comment section. Make sure you hit us up on the various social media, including myself, Big Ray Show, of course, everyone with the Big Slam Nation, and of course, the legendary, the iconic Mr. Bill Apter. All the links are down in the description box below. Make sure you thumbs up this video if you guys like it. Of course, subscribe for more pro wrestling talk right here on One Wrestling and OneWrestling.com. Thank you guys again for watching. Appreciate the love and support. And to quote the legendary, the iconic Bill Apter, we will see you at the matches.